Britain built some of the greatest trucks the world has ever seen. From the factories of Lancashire to the workshops of Luton, these machines moved the nation, won wars and built an industry. These are the 10 best British lorries ever made. We ranked each one on 4 measures: innovation, impact, reliability and long-term legacy. Some picks will be exactly what you would expect, others may surprise you. From wartime legends to civilian workhorses, from heavy haulage giants to fleet favourites, we're counting down from number 10, starting with a truck that brought a quiet revolution to every depot in the country. In the 10th place, the Ford D-Series arrives as the quiet disruptor that transformed the British truck market. Launched from Dagenham in 1965, the D-Series was the first mass-produced British lorry to feature a tilt-forward cab, a design that let a single mechanic swing the whole cab up and reach every inch of the engine in minutes. Maintenance became a matter of minutes, not hours, and operators from Royal Mail to local councils rushed to adopt it. The story behind the D-Series is as bold as its engineering. Ford's American headquarters issued an ultimatum: modernise or risk losing the market. That pressure created a truck that forced every rival to rethink their designs. Ford's own records suggest around 220,000 to 527,000 D-Series units were built before 1981, though the much-quoted 540,000 figure remains disputed. For over 15 years, the D-Series defined the look of the British depot, its tilt-cab innovation setting a new benchmark for the entire industry, even if its legacy was built in council yards rather than on battlefields. Number 9. The AEC Matador stands as the British Army's most enduring artillery tractor of the Second World War. Launched in the late 1930s, the Matador's robust 4x4 chassis and 95 horsepower 6-cylinder engine made it the natural choice for towing the 25-pounder field gun across the punishing deserts of North Africa and the sodden lanes of Italy. With 9,620 units produced during the war, the Matador never matched the sheer output of some rivals, but its battlefield reputation was second to none. Archival footage from the Imperial War Museum captures Matadors hauling guns through sand and mud, their all-terrain drive keeping supplies and artillery moving when lesser vehicles faltered. When peace returned, the Matador's story took a new turn. Thousands were stripped of their military gear and reborn as civilian recovery trucks, their rugged frames perfect for garage operators and heavy-haul specialists. Conversion manuals from the National Motor Museum detail how these former army workhorses became legends on Britain's roadsides, rescuing broken-down lorries well into the 1970s. The Matador's legacy is built on its ability to serve in war and peace. It is an icon of British engineering that bridged the gap between battlefield heroics and everyday reliability. 8th place goes to the Bedford TK, the lorry that became the backbone of Britain's post-war commercial fleet. Launched in 1960 from the sprawling Dunstable plant, the TK was designed to be everything a medium-haul operator could want. It was affordable, tough and easy to drive. It quickly became a fixture on high streets, farm lanes and council yards, its forward control cab offering unmatched visibility and a low loading height that made it a favourite for municipal fleets and builders alike. Production soared past 90,000 units, a figure that speaks to its dominance and the relentless output of Dunstable's lines. Trade press price tables from the early 1970s reveal how the TK's aggressive pricing forced Ford to slash costs on its D-Series, sparking a price war that left rivals scrambling to keep up. Oral histories from the Bedford Owners Club recall how entire fleets would turn over to the TK, drawn by its reliability and the promise of affordable spares. The TK did not just move goods, it reshaped the British haulage market, setting new standards for what a medium truck could deliver. Its story is one of quiet revolution where commercial impact mattered as much as engineering innovation. Number 7. The Leyland Beaver stands as the quiet champion of Britain's council fleets and municipal services. Introduced in 1955 from the Lancashire works, the Beaver was built for the everyday grind, short wheelbase, 3-ton payload and a cab layout that made life easier for drivers on city rounds. What truly set it apart was the Leyland 0.680 diesel engine, a power plant that earned a reputation as nearly indestructible. Mechanics and operators still talk about its bulletproof reliability. Stories of beavers running for decades with little more than basic servicing became part of British trucking folklore. Production records show just over 6,400 units built before the line closed in 1967. A modest figure compared to mass-market giants, but everyone mattered. Councils across the UK, from Manchester to the Midlands, filled their fleet lists with beavers for refuse collection, road maintenance and public works. Period trade journals praised its low running costs and the way it kept local services moving through harsh winters and heavy use. For independent hauliers, the Beaver's combination of rugged simplicity and that legendary 0.680 engine meant fewer breakdowns and more miles between garage visits. Its legacy is not measured in glamour or sheer numbers, but in the steady, dependable service it gave to the communities that relied on it. The Beaver remains a symbol of British engineering at its most honest and reliable, unpretentious and built to last. Number 6, the ERF C series, embodies the independent spirit of Sandbach, a town where truck building was more than just an industry, it was a way of life. Born from Edwin Richard Foden's decision to break away from the family company, ERF charted its own course in the mid-1970s, refusing to follow the crowd or chase mass market trends. The C series, launched in 1975, was a quiet revolution. Around 3,600 units left the Peterborough plant, each tailored to the needs of small hauliers and regional operators who valued reliability and a personal touch over sheer scale. Operators could choose from a range of bespoke cab options with interiors designed for comfort on long hauls, a rarity in an era when most British lorries put the driver last. Owners' Club records show how fiercely loyal these drivers became, often sticking with ERF trucks for decades. The C series did not flood the roads with numbers, but it won hearts by putting drivers first and keeping the ERF badge proudly British. At a time when the giants of the industry were consolidating, ERF stood as proof that small-scale ingenuity could still set the standard for quality and care. The C series marks a turning point in the story where independence, not just innovation, became a badge of honour. In the 5th place, the Foden S21, better known to many as the Fleetmaster, embodies a spirit of craft ingenuity that sets Sandbach apart from the rest of Britain's truck-building heartland. Launched in 1955, the S21 was the first British lorry to feature an in-house developed fiberglass cab, a daring move at a time when most rivals still relied on heavy steel. This composite body wasn't just about style, its curving boat-like silhouette remains instantly recognisable, and it was a technical leap that delivered real-world benefits. The fiberglass shell slashed the cab's weight, improving fuel economy and reducing the ever-present threat of rust, a constant enemy on British roads. Foden's own ledgers, preserved at the Sandbach Transport Museum, record just over 2,200 S21s and Fleetmasters built before production ended in 1974, a modest total that belies the model's influence. The real masterstroke came in 1962 with the Fleetmaster Refuse variant, purpose-built for council fleets and municipal operators. Its lighter cab and robust ladder frame made it ideal for stop-start city work, and local authorities from Liverpool to Leicester snapped them up for refuse and public works. While bigger firms chased volume, Foden's attention to materials and operator needs turned the S21 into a quietly revolutionary workhorse, one that outlasted rivals in the most punishing, corrosion-prone environments. The S21's story is one of hands-on innovation, where a family-run firm could still change the game with clever engineering. In the lineage of British lorries, the Foden S21 stands as proof that sometimes the boldest advances come not from the giants, but from the determined independents who refuse to follow the crowd. Number 4, the Scammell Constructor stands as Britain's answer to the challenge of moving the unmovable. Introduced in 1957 from the West Bromwich works, the Constructor was engineered for abnormal loads, such as transformers, nuclear flasks and entire bridge sections, cargoes that no ordinary lorry could touch. Its secret lay in a modular chassis, available in 6-wheel or 8-wheel drive, with steerable rear axles and a choice of Leyland or Scammell's own high-torque diesels. Operators like Winds and Sunters turned to the Constructor when the job demanded precision and power, hauling massive electrical transformers across the country for the national grid, or carrying nuclear material under the tightest safety regulations. Press clippings from the National Railway Museum document these epic moves, where the Constructor's load rating and traction made the difference between success and disaster. Production remained limited. Just under 4,800 units left the line by 1978, and each one was a specialist, built to order for the most demanding infrastructure projects of the era. The Constructor never matched the production numbers of fleet workhorses, but its impact was felt wherever the stakes were highest. In the annals of British engineering, it represents the moment when ambition met technical mastery, delivering a machine that made the impossible routine. As the countdown approaches the final three, the Scammell Constructor sets the stage for the titans of heavy haulage that follow. Its reputation as the lorry that moved Britain's heaviest burdens remains unchallenged. Coming to the top three, the AEC Mammoth Major stands as the heavyweight backbone of Britain's freight and ground support operations for nearly 3 decades. First rolling out of the Southall Works in 1935, the Mammoth Major was engineered to take on the heaviest loads the era could throw at it, with 6x4 and 8x4 chassis options, payloads that stretched the limits of British roads, and engines that evolved from 80 horsepower petrol to powerful 150 horsepower diesel engines. Across 3 generations, with each redesign, AEC kept pushing the boundaries, culminating in the Mark III tilting cab, a leap forward for maintenance and driver access that set new standards for the industry. Production records confirm nearly 17,500 Mammoth Majors left the factory floor between 1935 and 1964, a figure that cements its place as a true workhorse of the heavy-duty sector. But the Mammoth Major's story is not just about numbers. During the post-war years, it became a fixture on RAF airfields, serving as a high-capacity refueler for bombers and transports, with ground support logs showing thousands of these trucks in daily use, some carrying 3,000-gallon tanks, others adapted for de-icing or cargo. The versatility and sheer scale of the Mammoth Major's service made it indispensable to both civilian contractors and military logistics alike. What sets the Mammoth Major apart is its ability to adapt and endure. From construction sites to oil depots, from council contracts to the tarmac of RAF bases, it delivered the payloads that kept Britain's infrastructure growing and its defences strong. The factory lineage, Southall to Zetland, mirrors the evolution of British industry itself, as AEC refined and retooled to meet ever-changing demands. As the countdown narrows, the Mammoth Major's multi-generation legacy and unmatched service records secure its status as a giant among giants, paving the way for the final contenders in Britain's Lorry Hall of Fame. In second place, the Leyland Octopus stands as the undisputed backbone of Britain's heavy haul industry, where raw muscle and engineering finesse met the country's most demanding freight challenges. Introduced in 1962 at Leyland's Ham plant, the Octopus was born for work that lesser trucks simply could not touch. Its signature 6x4 and later 8x4 chassis gave it an unrivaled capacity for ballast, steel and bulk haulage, with the 8x4 variant quickly becoming a fixture in the British Steel Corporation's massive fleet. Operators valued the Octopus for more than just its imposing stance. The 300 horsepower Beaver 8 engine paired with Leyland's renowned ergomatic cab delivered both relentless pulling power and a level of driver comfort rare in the era's heavyweights. Production records confirm 5,200 Octopus units built before the line closed in 1970, a figure verified by both Leyland's own ledgers and Ministry of Defence procurement files that also detail military versions adapted for heavy equipment transport. The Octopus's robust, flood-resilient chassis allowed it to tackle everything from steel coils to bridge components, earning it contracts not just with industrial giants, but also with municipal authorities who needed a lorry that could shrug off the worst of British weather. For the men and women tasked with moving the immovable, the Octopus became more than a machine. It was the trusted partner that kept Britain's industrial heart beating through an era of rapid change. Its legacy lives on wherever heavy steel and bulk cargo still need shifting, a testament to British engineering at its most ambitious and uncompromising. As the countdown narrows, the Octopus pushes the impact criterion to the industrial extreme, paving the way for the wartime legend that claims the top spot. And finally, in first place, the Bedford QL stands as the ultimate proof that a lorry can move more than just cargo. It can move nations. Born in the shadow of war, the QL was conceived at the Luton plant in 1941 and became the backbone of Britain's military logistics. Over 52,000 units rolled off the line by 1945, a scale of production unmatched by any British truck before or since. These were not just numbers on a ledger. Every QL represented a lifeline, delivering fuel, munitions and rations from the burning sands of North Africa to the muddy lanes of Normandy and the choking jungles of Burma. The QL's rugged 4x2 and 4x4 chassis endured the worst conditions the war could throw at them. Archival reels from the Imperial War Museum capture convoys of QLs braving shellfire and monsoon roads, their engines refusing to give up even when the going turned desperate. Yet the story of the QL is not just about hardware, it is about people. At the height of wartime demand, the Luton factory became a symbol of the home front, with thousands of women stepping onto the production lines, keeping the wheels turning while the men fought abroad. Bedfordshire archives preserve those daily production sheets, each one a quiet testament to resilience and unity. When the guns fell silent, the QL's journey was far from over. Surplus trucks crossed continents, serving in post-war reconstruction and exported as far as Pakistan, where QL derivatives built under license still haul freight and supplies decades later. In a world where most wartime vehicles faded quickly into scrap, the QL's DNA lives on in fleets half a world away. No other British lorry can claim such a sweep of history, mass-produced in crisis, proven under fire, and still echoing in the rhythms of daily life far beyond its birthplace. The Bedford QL is more than a truck. It is the enduring symbol of British ingenuity, grit, and the quiet heroism of those who built and drove it. Across all 10 entries, one pattern is undeniable. British lorries were engines of national transformation, fusing grit, invention and reliability. While many legendary makers have vanished, their machines defined an era and still shape roads, memories and industry today. This legacy endures because these lorries did more than haul, they built Britain. Which model do you think deserves the crown? Share your thoughts and celebrate this proud engineering heritage below.